Hi everyone, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining Circle Surrogacy's webinar on becoming a surrogate. Today we're going to go over the screening process, a webinar for prospective surrogates. My name is Alicia Abdella. I am one of the social workers here at Circle. I work primarily on the surrogate screening and matching team. So today I'll speak with you a little bit about our process. In addition, today we also have Dr. Suzanne Haskell joining us. Dr. Haskell is a Massachusetts board licensed psychologist, and she works with our surrogate population with regards to psychological testing. So that's something that will be discussed today. Some housekeeping. You can listen in by phone or using your computer's speakers. You're also on mute, so we can't hear you, but you are able to use the questions panel on the toolbar to ask us questions along the way, and we are happy to answer questions at the end of the webinar. We're also recording the webinar. We can email this to you, and we will also post it to our website, so you can access it later on. The topics that we'll cover today include the pre-screening process, a phone interview with a social worker, psychological testing, and then next steps after that. So the pre-screening process begins when a surrogate applicant goes onto our website and fills out the application to be a surrogate. And that application contains a series of questions, really collecting basic information for us to get to know you a little bit better. A little bit about your lifestyle, medical history, support system, pregnancy history. We collect information there, and then once we receive your application, you're then given access to our online portal. The portal is a login system where you can access all the information you need about next steps and our process in general. And you can also find all the necessary forms required to complete your application. So some of those forms contain authorizations, which you will sign and return to us. You would authorize us to run criminal and financial background checks on you as the applicant, as well as anyone over the age of 18 living in the home with you. And you would also sign an authorization allowing us to collect medical records directly from your OBGYN from your previous pregnancies. These medical records are then reviewed by Circle's IVF doctor liaison so that we can get medical pre-approval for you, which is an important step in the process. Once you've completed all the materials found on the portal, you then move forward into the screening process with a social worker. So that would either be myself or one of my social work colleagues, where we would reach out to you by email and request to schedule a time to speak with you either that week, perhaps the following week. The call that we will schedule is about 2 to 2.5 hours on average, and during this conversation we go over a number of topics together. The call is really a chance for us to get to know you a little bit better, and then towards the second part of the call we have an opportunity to explain a little bit more about Circle's process and then answer any questions that you might have. I'm sure that you have a lot. Definitely understandable. So during the conversation, we'll go over an applicant's motivations, why she is pursuing a surrogacy journey at this point. We'll talk about pregnancy history. So I would want to hear in your own words a little bit about your pregnancy experiences. We also discuss support system together. So who is in your life that knows you are applying to be a surrogate and who is supportive and on board to help you along the way. In addition to the call that we have together, I'll also schedule a call with your primary support person. For some women who are married or partnered, perhaps that's their husband, partner, fiance. For other women, perhaps it's maybe mom, a sister, a friend. Whoever is involved in your life that is going to be available to you during the course of the journey is who we would want to be in touch with as that primary support person. That call typically takes an hour and happens after your call with us. During the screening call, you also have an opportunity to share your matching preferences and expectations. So, for example, you would have an opportunity to talk about the intended parent population that you'd like to work with. We also talk about the relationship with your intended parent, both during the pregnancy and post-birth. And we also discuss your delivery expectations in terms of where you plan to deliver, what hospital, what doctor you'd like to work with. And then lastly, at the end of that conversation, we talk about the surrogacy process and next steps. So what's next after the screening call? Once you and your support person have had your conversations with the social worker, you will receive what's called a commitment letter. The commitment letter goes over the roles and responsibilities that you agree to in becoming a surrogate with Circle. The last couple pages of the letter also talk about the fee structure. So that's something that you would have a chance to look at in terms of the money paid to you as a surrogate during this process. So I encourage you and your support person to look at the letter together. You sign that letter and you send it back into us. Once we have the signed letter, you then move on to psychological testing and matching with intended parents. So I will let Dr. Haskell speak a little bit about the psychological testing piece.
Hi. This is Dr. Suzanne Haskell. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist in Massachusetts, and I'm responsible for the psychological testing of prospective surrogates through Circle. So psychological testing has been done for as long as formal surrogacy has been around since the 1980s, and it is a requirement of all of the IVF clinics used by Circle. So the goal is basically to have an empirically based or research-based measure to help assess candidates' personality and also to serve as a screen for psychopathology. The results can also be helpful with matching with prospective parents. So by far, the most commonly used tests for screening purposes are the MMPI, or the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory, and the PAI, or the Personality Assessment Inventory. These are both considered self-report measures that involved responding to a number of statements, somewhere around 340 items or so, and how they apply to you, the respondent. The test itself typically takes between half an hour to 45 minutes to complete. Now, how this is done is through a secure online video conferencing sort of platform. Basically a webcam-enabled computer, that is a laptop or a desktop, will allow you to take the test. At this point in time, the testing cannot be done on any smart devices, phones or iPads, etc. Instructions are sent, and about an hour should be set aside to complete this, preferably in a quiet setting with a good internet connection. Now, once testing is complete, the results and write-up are forwarded to your social work contact at Circle. Now, if there are any questions or unusual findings, I will typically follow up directly with you. But that completes your final step in the screening process to becoming a surrogate.
Great. Thank you, Suzanne. So at this point, we're happy to take questions. If there are any questions from those of you who are listening in today. We do have one question that I'm able to answer. The question is, how quickly can I be matched with intended parents? So once you're going through the screening process, you pass the social work screening with both the social worker and you've moved on to sending in your commitment letter to us. we're able to send you a profile immediately thereafter. So at that point, we would begin a profile exchange wherein the information that we collect during our conversation with you, the applicant and your support person, is shared with prospective intended parents. And those same intended parents, their profile and redacted version is sent over to you so that you have a chance to learn about them as well. And after a couple days, you come back and let us know your impressions on the intended parents, and the intended parents would do the same with regards to your profile. So it tends to be a fairly quick process. Something else that I will also note in terms of timing, for women who begin the application and are able to send in all their application materials within a 2-week time frame, we do offer a $250 expedited application bonus. So that is something that we would send out to you as soon as you moved on to the screening process. So for some women, that is an incentive to get their documentation together quickly, and that is something that we're happy to offer. It looks like we don't have any other questions. So I do just want to give some more information. If you are interested about applying, please go onto our website, circlesurrogacy.com/surrogates, and from there you're able to fill out our online application. If you'd like to speak with somebody directly in our pre-screening department, perhaps you have another question you were too shy to ask, you can contact Maria, and Maria's email address and phone number is located on the screen below. Please feel free to reach out to her with questions that you may have. And we do have another event upcoming, scheduled for tomorrow, Thursday, December 11th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, where we will be chatting live with Jenny, who is a former Circle surrogate. And there's contact information below for Brian Manning if you have specific questions about that. So that is the end of our show today, and we thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.